something is missing, something's off. You can't quite put your finger on it. You can't. But yet you stay because you solve that section. You knew the rules there. You knew how to win there. And leaving feels like starting over, and we cannot have that. Not at this age. That is not loyalty to the job. That is loyalty to that compartment. Are you following me? The second compartment is relationships. The relationship compartment looks like staying connected to people who never, ever knew who you were becoming. So now every time that you're around them, you shrink, you get this small. They can't see you. Not because they're terrible people. We won't say that. They're okay. But because the version of you they know is the small version. So you keep going back because familiar feels like belonging. Even when it's actually just comfort in a room you outgrew years ago. Now you're probably saying, well, Miss T, that's love. That's not love. That is a compartment with good memories written on the wall. Third compartment is your identity. And in your identity compartment, let me just say first, that's the quiet one. And it costs you the most. It's more expensive. This is the compartment where you decided who you were allowed to be. The strong one, the reliable one, the one who handles it all day in and day out. The one who doesn't need anybody's help because you got this. You strong. The one who keeps going and going like that little bunny. That identity has been running your life like a program in the background that you never installed, nor can you find the off switch. You did not choose to be the strong one. You were assigned it. Then you got so good at it. You got good that you forgot it was even an assignment. You thought it was just simply who you are. That right there is the deepest compartment in the maze. And that is the one most people never audit. Never. Here's the thing about this maze. Here's the thing. It's actually brilliant. It is. I don't know who came up with this. It's brilliant, this maze. It throws you just enough to keep you solving. Little crumbs of achievement, little moments of, yes, I did that. You see me? Just a little moment. You might get a new title, a bigger office, a pay raise, a successful project. Oh, you're in a new relationship and it looks great on paper. You checked all the boxes. You did that. But none of these things are bad. I'm not saying that. But when they are the only reason that you keep going, when they are simply proof that you are good enough in someone else's system, they become shackles on your hands and feet. They're not stepping stones. They give you just enough to silence that little inner voice that asks, is this it? Is this really all there is? Your parents, they're proud though. Your friends are simply impressed by you being the best. And your social media looks perfect. So guess what? You double down. You work harder. You chase that next promotion, and the next purchase you make is bigger and better than the last. The next external confirmation that you are right on track. You're on track. You get better at running the maze. You gotten faster, you're more efficient. You've become an expert maze solver, but you're still in the maze and you are not getting out. You're just getting better at moving around inside of it. They call that a trap. That's the real trick. If this video feels a little too accurate, that's probably because you've spent years being the strong one for everybody else. The one who keeps showing up. The one who keeps fixing it all. The one who keeps holding things together. Meanwhile, back on the farm, your own life has been sitting on the back burner, getting reheated for the third time like last week's leftovers. You should do yourself a favor and subscribe if you feel led. Because around here, we talk about the patterns, high achievers normalize until burnout starts feeling like their personality. In video 1, we named the tax. In video 2, we mapped the dynamics. In this one right here, this is where we find the exit. Let's get back to it. Here's the thing about high achievers and the maze. Every time you feel stuck, your instinct is to achieve your way out. You're going to work harder. You're going to do more. You're going to level up, optimize, and grind. And sometimes that will work. You will move to a new compartment and things will feel different for a minute. It's going to be this big push of momentum. You're going to feel the hope. But then that same feeling creeps back in. Different rooms, because achievement is not the exit. Achievement is just how you move through the maze faster. I'll say that again for those in the back who aren't paying attention. Achievement is not the exit. It's how you move through the maze faster. All that skill, all that talent, all that drive, all that ambition that you poured in getting to the top of someone else's ladder. Been there, done that. I told you this channel was built on lived experience and change, and all that made you effective. It made you competent. It gave you tools. Cool. But if you're climbing a ladder leaning against the wrong building, it doesn't matter how high you even go. The promotion did not free you. It gave you a better compartment. The new relationship, it didn't free you. It gave you different walls to decorate. The new city, it didn't free you. You brought the maze with you in your luggage because the maze is not outside of you. The maze is the set of beliefs about who you are supposed to be and what you're supposed to want and how you're supposed to move through the world that got installed before you even had a choice. True story. No amount of achieving changes what is running underneath. You cannot out-earn conditioning. You can't outwork it. You can't solve your way to the exit. And here's the distinction most people tend to miss. There's a difference between moving towards something and moving away from something. Big difference. A lot of people, they quit. They quit the job because they don't like their boss. They leave the relationship because they're unhappy. They move to a new city because they're tired of the old one. That is just moving away. That is a reaction. But what happens when you just move away? That's the question. What happens? You end up in the same situation, just with different players. But it's the same maze because you never decided what you were actually building toward. You didn't. Moving toward is a decision. It means you know what your life actually looks like, what lights you up, what you're willing to build even when it is uncomfortable, even when no one around you has a map for where you're going. That is not reacting to what you do not want. That is creating what you do want. That's creating. And yes, all of what I just stated is uncomfortable, is all get up and get out because you've been living in a very predictable life. You know what uncharted territory actually feels like for a high achiever like yourself. It's not the wilderness. It's not chaotic. It is waking up every single day already knowing exactly how the day is going to go. I'm talking same alarm, same routine, same lunch, same conversations, same feeling at 9 p.m. that nothing actually happened, even though everything got done. That is Groundhog Day. And if you're cool with that, I mean, genuinely cool with that, that's your life, and I respect it. But you, the one that clicked this video, I think you see more for yourself. I see more for you too. And that is also what freedom feels like for the first time. It's not loud, just a day you did not already know before it started. Look, have you ever cleaned the whole house to avoid one conversation? Just one productive, busy, moving, completely avoiding the actual thing. That is achievement dressed as avoidance. See, high achievers do this on a life scale. There's a moment, and if you've had it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is the moment when you are in the middle of something that you work hard to get, whether it was the job, the relationship, the milestone, the thing that you said that you wanted. And instead of feeling full, like, oh, I did this, you feel nothing. Or worse, you feel like you are watching yourself from somewhere above the room. You just continuously go through the motions. You say the right things. You're looking like somebody who has it all together. And a quiet voice somewhere asks, is this it? Is this all? That voice you hear is not a sign of depression. And that voice doesn't mean ingratitude. But the voice is you, the real you, knocking on a wall of the compartment that you were never supposed to stay in this long. I know exactly what that feels like. I sat in that feeling for 23 years before I understood what it was telling me. It's like putting on shoes that don't fit, not painful enough to take them off because the corn hasn't popped up, the bunion hasn't happened, not comfortable enough to forget about, just slightly wrong every single day. That is what living inside someone else's maze feels like. Almost right, almost yours, almost enough, until one day, just one day, almost is not enough anymore. That day is today. It's today. I need to tell you something about leaving the maze that people don't talk about because I don't even realize, or I don't think they realize they're in the maze. It's not dramatic. No, you're not going to have a breakdown, not in the parking lot, and wake up transformed the next morning. You're not going to quit everything on a Tuesday and move somewhere and start over with a clean slate. That happens in movies. Real exits are quieter than that. Leaving the maze looks like one day of deciding not to take the familiar path to the kitchen. It looks like pausing before you automatically say yes. It looks like sitting with this long enough to ask, whose voice is this? What I actually want, or is this what I was taught to want? It looks like letting one compartment stay undecorated instead of making it comfortable enough to stay in it. This is what it looks like. Not perfect, not completely finished on my website, not without fear, but it's moving in a direction that you chose. That's the exit. It's not a destination, a direction. And the difference between people, the people that leave the maze, and the people who spend their whole life solving it has nothing to do with talent, trust, nor intelligence, nor opportunity. No, it's just the willingness to stop long enough to ask, who built this? Is this actually where I want to go? See, some of y'all have gotten so good at surviving your life, you don't even notice that you stopped choosing it. True story. That is why this conversation feels so heavy, because somewhere in this video you recognize yourself, not the version performing, not the version producing, not the version everyone depends on, you. And if that hits something real for you, subscribe, because this series isn't your typical form of motivation. Some may call it not motivation. It's about finally seeing the maze clearly enough to stop calling survival freedom. So, how do you actually stop this cycle? How do we step out of this maze and onto a path that is actually ours? How do you do that? Think about it. Most of us are living reactively. We're running away from debt, away from a job we dislike, away from pain, away from discomfort. When you are away, you're letting the thing you do not want dictate your direction. External forces are still pushing you because you're still in the maze. You're just trying to escape that monster over in the corner. But what if you started choosing toward? What if you decided what you actually want to build, what you actually want to feel, what kind of life you actually want to live, not what someone told you to want, what you want. That shift is not just a mindset trick, it is a total reorientation, and it starts with one question: am I moving towards something I chose or away from something I'm afraid to leave? I'm going to say that again because I'm not sure you heard me. Am I moving towards something I chose or away from something I'm afraid to leave? Because most movement in the maze is not pursuit, it's avoidance dressed up as progress. And a lot of people, they quit things. They quit jobs because they don't like their boss as much. They leave relationships because they're unhappy. You've heard it before. They've moved to new cities across the country because they're tired of the old city they lived in. You've heard that before. That is moving away. That is reaction. But what happens when you just move away? What happens? You end up in the same situation. Different players, same dynamic, because you never dealt with the core issue. You never decided what you were actually building toward. You didn't. So here's where you start. Guess what? It don't include 10 steps. There's only 3. No 10 steps, only 3. First, stop running from. Start walking to. Not away from this dead end job, toward work that makes me feel alive. Not away from being broke, toward financial independence on my own terms. The destination has to be yours. It has to be yours, not a reaction, a decision. Did you write that down? And when you do write it down, make sure it's specific. Make sure it's something that you are choosing. Second, deconstruct your shoulds. Take out a piece of paper. Write down everything you feel like you should be doing. Write down everything that you should have and write down everything you will achieve. Doesn't matter the order. Then next to each one, write where the belief came from. Is that your voice or is it a parent, a mentor, a system that needed you to be functional? An old version of yourself that was just trying to survive. Write it down. If it's not yours, cross it out. I want you to give yourself permission to discard what was never yours to carry. Third, take one tiny chosen step today. One. I don't want you to quit your job tomorrow. Didn't tell you that. Don't call me. Didn't say that. I don't want you to sell everything and start over. I want you to take one small deliberate action that moves you toward instead of away. If you're moving toward creative freedom, try blocking 30 minutes today. You need space, not judgment. If you're moving toward peace, you need 15 minutes of silence instead of scrolling through everyone else's noise on social media. See, these small chosen actions or how you reroute your internal GPS. They are your first step out of the maze. One question, one destination, one step. That is the exit. That question is how you get through the exit. You have been solving this maze your entire life. That's your whole life. You just keep getting better at it. You've gotten faster at it. You get recognized for how well you navigate through it. And you're tired. And that doesn't say weakness. Nope, doesn't. You're tired because you've been working hard inside a structure that was never built for your freedom. The maze, it was built by conditioning, furnished with expectation, and maintained by the version of you that learned very early that solving things keeps you safe. But you are not trying to be safe anymore. You simply want to be free. It does not look like finding the best compartment in this maze. Free looks like you walking out. One question at a time. One chosen direction at a time. One day at a time. No more circles. No more circles. This right here exists because I stopped solving and started choosing my direction. And the truth about it, you're next. I'm the gas station. I fill you up so you can move. But I have to tell you, you still have to drive. See, in video 4 is where we're going to talk about the conversation you've been avoiding. The one that starts at the exit, if you'll be there.